This is Brother Carter with Tasteful and Toxic. I also have my lovely wife with me,
Val.
Hey, Val. Be sure and tune in to us every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m.
Don't sleep on us, baby. Get up, get your coffee. Tune in.
We love you. God bless you. We'll see you Wednesday.
Welcome to another edition of Tasteful and Toxic. Good morning, good morning. It is a Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. It's bright, it's crisp, it's early. How are we feeling, Miss Stephanie?
I'm feeling really good.
Yeah.
The weather is giving fall.
Finally.
We only have 30 minutes.
Literally.
But for this 30 minutes, it is giving fall.
Yes, and I'm taking advantage of all the fall outfits
Oh,
while I
100%
can.
for the 30 minutes.
Yeah. Half my closet is fall outfits, which is crazy because
It's
30 minutes long.
Yeah.
What about you, Tierra?
I definitely had on some lug lace-up boots with some socks that were shown yesterday. Like I'm definitely
and like still sweating a little bit.
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this fall weather, so I'm doing great.
Okay, and how are you, Alan?
I am doing fantastically well.
Yes.
Great Wednesday morning. Glad to be here. Get into some fun and tasteful topics.
Yes. Well, maybe toxic because
Maybe toxic.
this is your
Just a little
first
bit.
time on
Just a little
Tasteful
bit.
and Toxic. So here on Tasteful and Toxic, we talk about something and whether it's tasteful or toxic. Or sometimes we talk about the tasteful side and the toxic side. I usually go for toxic. We know this.
Yeah, and we usually go for taste.
No,
I'm toxic sometimes.
You cheater.
You ride the line. It just depends on the day.
You've never lied.
No, yeah. And you guys are probably missing our lovely host, Brother Carter and Mrs. Carter, but they're on their anniversary trip, married for billions and trillions and millions of years. And so me and Stephanie are going to fill in. She's taking on the Brother Carter role.
Yeah.
And I'm taking on Miss Carter because those are our
Love
twin
it.
flames.
They are. Happy birthday, Brother Carter.
Happy
Yes,
birthday,
happy
happy
birthday.
anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
And we are joined by the lovely Miss Tierra. You know her. You know her. She's here. She's a regular. She's here to join us again today. And we have a first timer, Mr. Alan Pruitt. Do you want to tell him a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. Alan Pruitt. I am a husband for the past 13 years. I'm a father of 3, 7, 4, and 1. So pray for me. And I also own my own CPA firm. Where we do taxes, business planning, business growth, and we specialize with mental health professionals to make sure you don't pay Uncle Sam $1 more than you're supposed to. So
That's so good.
fun times.
Yes. And so today we're going to be talking, this is a part 2, because last week we talked about jealousy. And I was definitely toxic with the jealousy. And so we're going to do a little part 2. Now, I was left by the lovely Mr. CLC notes, printable notes. If you remember from last week, we were passing it over because he couldn't read it. I can read it though. I don't need my glasses.
Don't be coming for Brother Carter.
He can read.
Well, he's literate. Let me rephrase
But
that.
his
He's
glasses,
literate.
yeah,
He can't see. Is the problem. No tea, no shade. I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah, of course.
So last week we talked about jealousy, and we went over the meaning of jealousy, which I will reiterate for you. Jealousy is the jealous resentment against a rival, a person enjoying success or advantage, or against another's success or advantage. Can you read it? I'm struggling. Thank
Wait
you.
a minute.
Sure. So it's resentment against a rival, a person enjoying success or advantage, etc., or against another's success or advantage itself.
Thank you. I was throwing all that shade and I couldn't read it.
I was. That's why I gotta help
What goes around comes around.
My bad.
I
could
calling the kettle black.
No, literally. I could see it. I just couldn't,
No, and that's why you have a
wasn't-
co-host.
Exactly. That's
Because I'm
why.
here for whatever you need.
Thank you so much. I love you, Stephanie.
Absolutely. I love you too.
So we talked a little bit about what being jealous means and what's the root of jealousy and if it's a form of love. But now we're going to talk about, is jealousy a form of, or does it mean hate? So it says on here, jealousy generally refers to the thoughts or feelings of insecurity, fear, and concern over a relative lack of possessions or safety. Jealousy can consist of one or more emotions such as anger, resentment, inadequacy, helplessness, or disgust. So I want us to talk about a time where you were the ugly kind of jealous. That little green monster came out. Because we talked a little bit, and I don't know if you guys watched last week's episode, but we talked a little bit about how sometimes jealousy is a form of love, right? Like if your partner, you want your partner to be like a little bit possessive, right? You want them to have a sense of not ownership, but a little bit, right? Like, you know, what's mine is mine. I don't want anybody touching, you know, what I got or whatever. But what about when it goes too far and you're leaning into toxic? Are you a jealous person, Tiara? I feel like you are. I can see it in your eyes.
Don't presume to know me. But I'm definitely, I can feel a way if I feel like, you know, I don't know. I'm like this. I feel like if somebody else can have you, it makes me not really want you. Like it really makes me feel a way. It makes me feel like I want to withdraw myself as opposed to like fighting for you.
Okay.
It makes me feel like, well, if they can have you, then let them have you. Type of stuff. I've always been the kind, I'm thinking back to like years ago in a relationship that I was in, and it was just kind of like, oh, like somebody else is in the picture. Like, okay, well, like I'm out. I'm not competing against someone. I can be very competitive, but I'm not competing against someone. And I will say that that feeling of insecurity though definitely comes up. Because I think jealousy is really just, this is something that for whatever reason, maybe due to the relationship, I feel like this is something that belongs to me, which is probably could be healthy, unhealthy, but if it's my man, it's my man.
Right.
Okay, no
There you go.
But when you feel like that person is like, you know, going in a different direction, or that there might be somebody else involved, like I think naturally you are gonna, you know, start feeling like, hey, what's going on? And then that feeling of like, well, what does this other thing or person have that that seems to be satisfying you more? So I think naturally some insecurity can creep in. But I've never really been, well, you know what? Why did the Holy Spirit just drop that memory? My God, I'm ashamed. So I can think back to a time when I was very, very young.
She's grown now.
She is.
I'll say like, it wasn't fighting for the person. It was, oh, you think that you've got something that I don't, so I'm going to show you that I got it like that because you think I don't.
Oh, okay.
So that did happen one time.
Overcompensating a little bit.
Not even overcompensating, but you're trying to act like, yeah, like, I'm finna go over there right now. Actually,
and I'm playing chess.
Yeah. So I did that like years and years ago, but like mid-20s up Tiara, never.
So you find that like you used to kind of react with anger and that resentment we were talking about, but you think now you kind of just disconnect and disengage?
Yeah, well, it wasn't even about the person. It was just like, I think that competitive nature came out of like, oh, you're trying to show me that like you have this person, but I'm going to show you that I got it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to leave it alone just to show you that I can, but he's still going to
take a jab at you.
That type of thing. It was like the competitiveness. It wasn't even about the man anymore. It was just kind of like,
flex.
You're trying to like play me.
I'm still in that era.
Oh yeah, I left that era behind. I left it behind. It wasn't working for me.
Okay, what about you, Alan? And this can be jealousy in relationships.
Okay.
I like it. Tell it on a Wednesday morning.
I hate it.
Tell it.
This can be jealousy in terms of a relationship, but it could also be jealousy of like maybe you see someone with successes that you wish you had, or something, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd say this. I think a small dose of jealousy is probably a little good.
I agree.
You know, I
agree.
I actually think it's helpful because you're like, oh my gosh, this person has that. How do I get that?
It gives you that drive.
Exactly. It gives you the drive, gives you the ambition. You know, now I don't think you can be to where, oh my gosh, why do they have it? They don't deserve it. You know, oh, I'll never get there. You know, you got to get away from those, you know, self-doubting beliefs. But I think a little bit of jealousy is like, hey, they have this, they have that. Okay, great. My question then is, okay, I'm a little jealous of that, but how did they get there?
Yeah.
How can I formulate a plan to get exactly where that is? You know what I mean? Because, you know, one of the most powerful things I've heard, which I think is so true, is that you can't have $1 million dream on a minimum wage mindset. And so when you see that $1 million dream from somebody that you're jealous of, like, okay, well, I need to change my minimum wage mindset to figure out a plan to get there. So I do think jealousy can be a little bit of a good thing as long as it's being used as a driver to get you to where you want to
and
be.
not to tear people down.
Not to tear people down. Exactly.
I think that's so good. What compartment in the vehicle are you putting that fuel in?
Yeah.
Because like Alan's saying, it can either catapult you into your destiny, your desires, your dreams, or it can have you stagnant because you're spending all of that energy resenting someone else for what they have instead of seeing that you can attain that same thing.
Yeah.
I remember back. I mean, I've been in the same situation as Tira. So me and my friend are telling our business on here. And
Thank you for not leaving me alone. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's so much better.
But I remember a couple years ago, I had been working very diligently at a job. I mean, I was really putting in effort. I had done so many things to ensure the success.
She innovated.
Of someone else's business. And then when it was time to promote someone, there was another person who had gotten the promotion and they were a friend of the boss. And it wasn't the person, she, me, her, who had been diligent in doing the work. And I remember we were in an all-staff meeting on Zoom and they announced it. And I just had to cut my camera off.
Because your face was telling it all, huh?
My face was telling it all, but I felt jealous. And I could feel like this righteous indignation. That's what I like to call it. That started to bubble up.
Injustice.
Yes. And then I said to myself when I got off that call, I had to check myself and say, okay, Stephanie, why are you feeling jealous of her? And I'm like, well, she just got here and she hasn't done the work and I've been working. Okay, cool. So maybe that energy that you're spending on someone else's dream needs to be funneled to your own dream. And that's when I left and started my own business shortly after. Yeah. Because sometimes what you're looking for to happen in your life, you are the person that can give that to yourself. And you're looking for it to be offered to you by someone else.
Yeah, that's good. Can I add in like a distinction? So a few years ago, I started to wrestle with because the Bible says that God is a jealous God.
I was going to say that.
So I started to wrestle. I'm like, well, jealousy is not good. So God is good. So where is that? Because, I need to investigate. God, you got to show me. Jealousy is, I think we conflate jealousy and envy with one another.
Yes.
So the words kind of have two different connotations, kind of similar, but they're a little different.
Absolutely.
So jealousy is when I am possessive or, I feel a way about something that belongs to me. Envy is when I desire to have or feel like I deserve something that belongs to someone else. So I think in Stephanie's case, she knew that she had put in the work for this opportunity. So that feeling of jealousy came because in her mind and her heart, she felt like, no, this was something that was supposed to be mine.
Yeah.
So I think envy is when you look at someone else and I think you believe, kind of going back to Alan's point, that this person has something that you're not capable of getting. So you just covet the fact that they have it, not recognizing that there is something for you too. But you've just not, tapped into what it takes to get to whatever that thing is for you. And I think in Stephanie's case, she used I know I put in the effort. This was something that was supposed to belong to me, to kind of pivot into, let me go get what's mine.
Because if you're so focused on what you don't have and what other people have, you're standing in your own way. And, they have that saying now, people are saying oh, girl's girl. And I think generationally, women specifically, but I'm sure men can attest to this as well. I don't know if some of your moms or grandmas, you hear the way they talk about other women, right? Her outfit's terrible. She can't dress or whatever. And I've heard other women say, they'll see a very beautiful girl who's dressed well. She's, slim, thick. She got the tiny waist, she got everything.
All the things.
And instead of being you know what? She's a beautiful woman. They're like, I don't like her. She's probably a slut. She's probably this. She's this, that, and the third. Instead of saying, you know what, maybe I should go to the gym. You know what I'm saying?
I can push the plate back.
Right. Because for me, and again, I think it is a generational thing. And I think there are a lot of problems with our generation, but I think something that is beneficial is that idea of just supporting other people.
Yeah.
And I can look at a person who, because I'm a voluptuous girl, but I can look at somebody else who's skinny and instead of being like, she needs to eat a burger. Instead of that, I can be like, you know what? She's a healthy girl. Let me go get healthy.
I think that's so good. It makes me think, okay, if you don't check your jealousy, then it turns into envy. If you don't check your envy, then it turns into strife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's good.
Jealousy,
Oh.
envy, strife.
Yes.
I think also, and I wanted to ask you since we have a man on the show today, Brother Carter's not here, so I need to ask a man's perspective. Because I do think, and again, this doesn't just go for relationships. I think women deal with jealousy differently. You know, we have that kind. I'm not saying this is true. I think there's an idea that women are catty. You know what I'm saying? So how do you think men deal with jealousy?
Ooh.
Maybe not just you, but just as a whole.
Yeah.
Speak on behalf.
Right. Speak on behalf of all men. Let me do just that. Well, I would say, I would tend to believe, because I'm this way talking to, some of my friends, family members. I kind of get most of the same vibe. Might not be for everybody, but I do think for men, we're such competitive. We have that drive, like, oh, that's mine, I want that. I think it is more for us typically as a driving force of, kind of what I explained. It's like, okay, I see that, let me go get that. Maybe I need to do some extra reps in the gym. Let me go hit these dumbbells. I think for most men, just because we are that have that kind of driving competitive force, that it is more of a fuel starter where hopefully we're putting the gas in the gas tank and not in like the back seat.
Right.
to your point. So I think for most men it does drive that way, but there's some catty dudes out there too.
Yeah.
Very
People
sassy.
sit around and kind of what we
yeah.
talked about on the other show about how people are dealt bad cards and then you're mad because someone else got a better hand than you. But if you played right, you could win.
Yeah.
And we've seen people over and over and over and over and over again in history who have done more with less.
Yeah.
That is not an adequate excuse to be a loser.
Nope.
It's a limiting belief.
Absolutely.
So if you're sitting there and in your jealousy, oh, I wish I had this. I wish I deserve this. If you deserve it, show it. Go get it then. If you deserve it, you would have it.
Same amount of time in a day.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are you doing? If you don't have it, it's because you have not put in the work to get it. That's something that my parents have instilled in me and my siblings. If I called my parents today and said, I want to change my profession and be a pilot, they would say, okay, good.
Go to pilot school.
Go to pilot school. Go and get it. Whatever someone else has, that thing is not isolated and only for them.
Yeah.
You could have it too. But when, again, you let that jealousy turn into envy, I think jealousy is healthy. But when put in the wrong heart and it festers and it turns into envy, then it becomes a maladaptive way for us to cope. It turns into, okay, I could have this too. I resent them because they have what I don't.
Yeah. And that's where that like nastiness comes in because, because I can look at you, Stephanie. I've known you for a long time. I see you as like a big sister. You know what I'm saying? And you're a successful woman.
Wow.
You're beautiful. You're successful. You know everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I
Very well connected.
I can, if I'm in a bad place in myself and I'm insecure, I can look at you and be like, she ain't even all that. You know what I'm saying? But that's not.
But she is.
But you are.
Right. And you've told me several times.
100%.
Yeah, I respect that.
But because I'm not, I have insecurities, but I don't let those insecurities let me tear a woman down.
Of course.
I'm going to look at you and be like, man, I want to be like Stephanie.
Yes.
What is she doing? I'm going to align myself with Stephanie, figure out what she's doing and emulate that. Don't copy. You know what I'm saying? Because you're your own person. Do my own version of it. But see that as motivation, like we talked about, as motivation to do better. Like I want to be where I'm at when I'm Stephanie's age. Or I want to, I want to have my own business or whatever my goals are that I like see in you or anybody. You know what I'm saying? I think when you're like hateful like that just eats away at you. Because that person can't hear you.
Is living their life.
They can't hear you. She's still gonna be successful, and I'm in my head talking all this mess.
And she'll never know.
She's living her life.
Yeah.
Should not care. Pay me no mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I got something for that. So, couple different things. This is an old saying from one of my I played football, and so one of my old offensive line coaches. Two things that he said when I was in high school that have kind of fueled me in life, and he just passed away a few months ago, so rest in peace. But one of the things he said is just what you were talking about, time. Like, hey, we were preparing for a season. It's like we all, that rival school who won the championship last year, guess what? We all have the same amount of time until we play them again.
That's so
good.
Therefore,
what are you going to do with that time in this meantime? And the second thing he what I always preach is, as we talk about people who have things, you talk about potential. Hey, maybe we were dealt bad cards. One of his best sayings that I love and, I've taken through life is that you can have all the potential in the world.
Yeah.
But potential just means that you haven't done shit yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all it means.
Yeah.
So that's something I was like, hey, yes, I live by that. And it's so true. You can have all of this, but those people that we're jealous of that have this, they've done something with those cards.
So
they
good.
played the game well.
That's so
they
good.
had the potential, but they made it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so good. It makes me think about, and I know we were talking about earlier, like our friends, like I can't relate to people that are like, it's me against the world, and because the friends that I attract and the friends that I'm attracted to, like Steph and I didn't know each other 10 years ago. But when you meet certain people and you see something in them and you're like, wow, like this girl is doing X, Y, and Z. The reason why you can connect with people like that and grow a true friendship is because maybe I'm not where she is yet, but I know that there's something in me that can. So let me surround myself with people that inspire me.
That you want to be more like.
And we talk about this all the time, like offline, like we have a friend group, like we always talk about like when one person accomplishes something, we celebrate them and they're like, man, y'all keep me on my toes. Like y'all keep pushing me to like not sit on that potential. But when I'm surrounded by people that are like going after it, I know, but you have to have that belief because you can have a truth, but the truth that you come into agreement with is what makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
All of us have the same 24 hours. All of us has gifts that God's blessed us with to do whatever. But when you believe and you're like, I know I could be doing more. I know that I have this thing. I'm just trying to kind of navigate how to do it. You get around people like a Stephanie and you're like, dang, my friend done wrote. I'll tell you a truth. I'll tell you a truth. Me and Steph met up one weekend and we were both working on projects that we both were working on. We just met up at a coffee shop and we were both doing our work on our project. This is a true story.
Not getting any projects done.
We had a good time though. We had a good time, but we were both working on our projects. And my project that I was working on it for like 2+ years. Like I kept overthinking it, all the stuff. The next time that I saw Stephanie, probably like a few weeks later, she was holding her coloring book in her hand. She was selling it at an event that we were at. And I was looking at my friend and I was like, you know what? Let me buy this coloring book.
First, let me support you.
Right. Yeah, of course. But I also was like, my friend literally, like, she moved on it. She didn't delay. She wasn't like stagnant. She wasn't overthinking it. She just put it together and went. And that's what prompted me. I said, you know what? Let me see what the lowest hanging fruit is. I've got to get this done. And I challenged myself. I was like, I have to get this done within this time. So there was a little bit of grammatical errors that I had to go back and fix stuff. But I was like, I'm challenging myself that my friend has done it. I've watched her do it. I've literally sat beside her while she was working on it and she was done. And I pushed myself. And that's how I finished my journal. I was determined I'm going to finish putting this thing together within 2 to 3 weeks and be ready to publish it and stuff a little bit after that. And I had, ran into a few errors, but my mindset was so determined, like, no, you don't have to sit on this.
Yeah.
And that's what actually gave me the inspiration. I told her about that. Yeah. But when you know that you already have it in you, you can be around the grace. A lot of y'all's friends suck because you're jealous. You don't think highly enough of yourself to attract the people that have the thing that you want. Your relationships are constantly trash because that's what you believe that you are.
And a lot of people want to surround themselves with people beneath them so that they can feel better about themselves.
Yes, it's
but
so true.
You are who you surround yourself with. They set the standard for, you know what I'm saying? Because you see your friend and, she's achieving things. And you're like, I can achieve that. And it's not coming from a hateful
It's not a
place.
competition.
Yeah. It's not like, well, I can get that too. It's like, you know what? My friend did it and I support her. Like, I know I can do that too. But if you're surrounding yourself with bummity bum, 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 you're going to be a bum.
Yeah.
One of my mentors told me is that, hey, what is a goal of yours? You want to make $100K in a year, right? Get in the room with people who make $100K in a day.
Yep, exactly.
And then you'll become normalized to it. Yep. You'll get all those, all the drive, all the things that they're doing to get there. Yeah. Then that's what you need to do. So who you surround yourself with is so important. It's so important.
They say you're the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself
Absolutely.
with.
Yeah.
Look at those 5 people and then ask yourself, are these the people that you want to be like?
Yes.
And like Tiara, I love Tiara. I love Tiara so much.
She's great.
We're very similar. But from the moment I met her, I knew that she was a giant.
Mhm.
The way that she articulates, the way that she moves, how she moves is in alignment with what she says, which is foreign to a lot of people. People say things and they move in the complete opposite way. Even Val, that's my girl. She's a giant. Even you, Abby, I can
You
learn
are.
so much from you.
Aw, thank you.
100%. But you have to surround yourself with giants if you
Yes.
want to be a giant.
You have to believe that you are a
Capable
giant. And
yeah,
maybe that it's
Before
like,
you get around
I
a
need a
giant.
few more pieces. But, and I want to say this, you also don't want to be that person that you surround yourself with all these amazing people and you sabotage these relationships
Absolutely.
because you're
'Cause
so
you're not
insecure.
ready.
So
About
when
yourself.
when your friends
That's
are
a big
accomplishing
deal.
it, like in the case of with Steph and I with the books, I could have looked at that and been like, could have gotten jealous. I could have started looking at myself like, well, you ain't did that. But no, I came in with a level of knowing myself and a
Yep.
level of confidence and knowing what I'm capable of and knowing what my gifts are to say, because I didn't publish the same thing she did. But if you have an insecure person in that kind of friendship,
Yeah.
they'll be trying to do
Mhm.
what she's doing because they
Mm.
don't have their own identity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you yourself need to be a person that knows who you are, that believes in who God created you to be before you
Mhm.
even, because baby, you're not finna drain me.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely.
You're not finna copycat everything I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna steal my ideas, because I've been around that before
Yeah.
where people have not established
That's
themselves
really
and know
good.
who they are. So you don't want to be that person that gets around these giants and then you start feeling small and you start having low self-esteem. Like you have to surround yourself with people that are where you are and steps above,
Absolutely.
where you are.
Heavy
And you
on
have
the
to
steps
know
above.
where you are, honestly. Stop trying to be
Yep.
around people that make you feel inferior. If you're not
Mhm.
there yet, get around the people that are where you are in that
Absolutely.
season and a couple of seasons above that.
Absolutely.
But don't go being around a millionaire and you're making 30. Not saying that that's wrong, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if you know that confidence wise you're not there yet,
Yeah.
don't push yourself
Don't
in
set
that
yourself
if
up
your
for that.
if your
Yeah.
mindset's not there, not even talking about the income, if your mindset is 30,000, you are gonna feel small. You're gonna get crushed in a room full of
Yeah.
millionaires if
Yeah.
you don't believe you have the potential to be that.
a million.
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
I've and I'm not gonna sit up here and say I'm like this great person, everyone's jealous of me, but I have like
But you
dealt with.
are, and there are so many people that are jealous.
I mean, I'm trying to be tasteful, but we all know what I really think.
She is. There are millions and
Girl.
trillions of people who are jealous.
Jealous of me, obviously, duh, because I'm gorgeous, beautiful, funny anyway.
I love it.
But I have this friend, and she's a close friend of mine, and I don't think she's like consistently jealous of me, but she's made a couple comments, and we're not as close. I don't keep her as close as I used to, but I have this friend, and like it was just, I felt like she was always comparing herself to me, and like she would say it though in like a joking way, but I kind of like it was something so silly. Like we were with some friends, and the song 1 2 Step came on, and I did a silly dance, like I just did like a little ooh, ooh, and then what someone else was like, oh, that's the best 1 2 Step I've ever seen, and she comes in, mine's better.
Oh yeah, it's in her heart.
Right. And I was like, we're being silly. Like, this is so not serious. And there was another time with that same friend. We were roommates and my mom came to visit. And I went inside to like deal with something in my house. They were sitting outside on the patio. And my mom was like, yeah, Abby's so funny. She's always making me laugh. And she goes, but I'm funnier. To my mom.
Gosh.
To my mother.
Yeah,
it was insane. And that's kind of
heavy.
Right. And again, it's these like little comments that these people make, and you think they're just being silly, funny, whatever. But then you look back and you're like, maybe.
Exactly.
But that feels envious more so than jealous.
Yeah.
And if I can even share like a little story, I had a really close friend of mine when I first moved to Houston. I was married. I had a different lifestyle. Me and my ex-partner were in the spotlight a lot more. And I had a friend, she had came from Michigan, and we were very close and we were around each other. And she was always at my house and hanging out and going to different activities with me without giving too much. She was going to different activities with me. And I just brought her into the fold, and I wasn't thinking anything of it. And one day she stopped answering my phone calls, my text messages, stopped hanging out with me. And I would follow up like, hey, did I do something to offend you? Let's talk about it. Because I'm really big on talking about things. And if I've done something wrong, I want to make it right as quickly as I can, because I don't want things to fester. And I do want to honor people. You know, that's God's child just as well as I am. And I want to honor them in the relationship. And also, if I need to make adjustments and refine my character traits, then I want the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And she didn't get back to me for months. And then when she finally reached out to me,
Months is crazy.
months is wild. So then I just thought maybe I did offend her, or I'm asking my ex-partner, I'm like, hey, did you say something? Did we do something? And it's like, I don't know. I don't think so. Finally, she reaches out to me. She asks me if we can meet up for coffee. And I'm like, absolutely, we can meet up for coffee. But now I'm like, well, we could have met up 2 months ago. But we meet up for coffee, and she tells me that she could no longer hang around me or enjoy my company or my marriage because she wanted the life that I had. She wanted to be the type of wife that I was. She wanted the big house. She wanted all of these things that she's only seeing, right? The external.
Yes.
You know, it's
She doesn't know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah. But I had the opportunity to either cut her loose because she was envious, or allow her to be around at her own pace and receive her honesty when she was ready to give it to me, and not allow that to overshadow all of the other qualities that she possessed.
Because she admitted that
And she
to you.
admitted, and I'm sure it took her a lot of courage. And now we're still great friends. And when she's in Houston, we hang out. But it was a growing moment for me, because oftentimes we notice that people are jealous or envious of us. We're like, cut them off, cut them loose, you know, throw Jonah off the boat because you can sabotage the mission.
Yeah.
But you have to have a level of maturity and confidence in yourself where you can identify, is this a snake? Or is this someone who's dealing with
their own insecurity?
Is this a Judas or a Peter?
Exactly. And this is an opportunity for her to grow and also for me to grow. But that was really hard for me, because a lot of people around me were saying, you need to cut her loose. You know, you want to have her around. And I'm like, but I've seen her in other ways, other times, and other elements. And this is triggering her. And I understand why you have to take a step back. So I think it's important with friendships to identify all of the contents of that person's heart, and not to allow that one incident or those two incidents, whatever it is, to be the overarching theme of who they are, if that is not who they've presented themselves to be 90% of the time.
Yeah, because we all have that's why the show's called Tasteful and Toxic. We all have toxicity in us, but we all should strive to be tasteful. And it sounds like your friend, you guys had a very tasteful friendship, and there was this one little toxic thing that she recognized and pulled away. She didn't, like, what she could have done, what a snake would have done, is stayed in your circle, try to take what you have and talk about you behind your back, like, oh, well, you know, she's in the limelight, she's getting all this attention, and like talking down on you, whether it's to people or even in her own head. Because I think even when you speak things, you're putting it out there. Even if you don't say it to a person, if you're having those thoughts, you're speaking it out. And, you know, I think that was brave of her to recognize that. And that was very, like, is the word courageous? Of you to, like, or accepting, I don't know, I can't think of the word.
That's
gracious. Thank you. Gracious to see that and not immediately, you know, hit the brake and be like, oh, well then, sorry, you're a jealous girl. Get out of my face.
You're 1,000% showed the love of Christ, because in friendships and relationships, like, we all need grace.
Of course.
We all need grace. And I think that was a beautiful example of you looking at your friend as a whole person instead of this one moment. Because a person that was truly out to destroy you, they would never humble themselves, because that you have to think about, like, you know, most of us in this room are like really confident, but you have to think about how difficult it is for a person to come to terms with the fact that when I'm around this person, I feel small. I feel incapable. And it's one of those things where this person could have used that feeling to try to make those little jabs and make little comments to try to make you feel small and make themselves feel better. Or I'm humbling myself. I'm sitting with this. I'm removing myself so I don't become something toxic to her. And then come to her and say, hey, I love you, but this is what I've been dealing with. That takes a great deal of humility. And I can't make myself
small to make you feel better either. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're around those people who are jealous and stuff like that, there's a fine line between, like, obviously you don't want to, like, if you know someone's going through something, you don't want to brag, right? Like, if you know someone just went through a breakup, you're not going to sit here and be like, well, I went on this wonderful date. And you know what I'm saying? You may not
read the room
a little bit. But in the end of the day, you don't want to make yourself small and completely disregard all the things that you do have just to make someone else feel better, because that's a them problem that they need to deal with too.
Yeah, I think one other thing on that though, it's very important to be mindful of, hey, we see, we might have seen this relationship, we see this person has this, we see this person has that. We don't know what's going on the other side of that we're fully jealous of.
Right.
We might not want to go through that same thing that they went through to get what we think that they have.
That's good.
Right.
And that is so
social
true.
media does that. You only see
the
highlight reel. Yeah.
Yes.
Real bad.
I mean, just thinking about the social media world we're in on TikTok, on Instagram. I've seen it before. I've seen some people on Instagram like, oh, got this, got that, got this. Well, I didn't see any numbers. And their numbers was out there.
Their credit cards maxed out to go on that trip.
And so you have to be very careful of that to say that, hey, what we think we see sometimes, we might not want to go through that same journey that they got to get there, or it might not even be what we think that it is. Overall. Yeah.
I think that's so good. I would always say, like, your saving grace is always going to be empathy. I could receive what she said because I could recall a plethora of times when I was jealous of a prettier girl, when I was jealous of people who were married, when I was jealous of people who had nice cars, when I was jealous of all of these areas in my life, when I was jealous, because I've had so many instances when somebody could sing better than me, when somebody could write better than me. We forget when we're in certain situations of all of the times that we've been the person on the other side. Don't have amnesia when people come to you regarding their concerns, because just like you mad at the person who cut you off, how many people before that have you cut off? So empathy will humble you, and it will allow you to put yourself in that person's shoes for just a moment to understand a slither of how they're feeling.
What were you gonna say, Anna?
Oh, that I have a story like that I was being like the ugly friend, right? The jealous friend. And I in a way I said things jokingly, but I was like, ooh, that's not nice, Anna. That's not nice. But then, I had to come to that point to realize, oh, I'm not being nice. I'm not being like a good friend. And then now on the other side, now seeing my friend when she received that comment from me, and now we're in a much different level now of friendship and everything. Now she calls me and say, hey, I'm going through this. Like, why would you tell me? Like, what can I say? And I'm like, well, first I ask her a question. Well, what's going down? Like, break it down for me. And now we dissect things and we can probably talk and give each other advice. So it's like you having that grace with your friends and that empathy in them coming to you with this and like, hey, like, it's not that I'm envious. It's just that like, I don't feel like I'm having that good relationship with you because I want what you have. And like, I'm jealous of that. And I don't know how to deal with it without like showing my insecurities. It's very strong, right? So I think it shows more on your end when you're able to dissect that, like be self-aware and not put your friends down, because at the end of the day, they're your friends for a reason. And like, I had to deal with that because again, coming from a childhood of bullying, it makes you insecure when you're an adult. If you don't heal through that, if you don't talk about it, there's insecurity in that. And once you understand that and heal from that and like have grace with that, then that's when you understand why you're jealous, why you're envious. And then that you really don't even have to take your envy, your jealousy all the way to an envy level, because like, oh, okay, I'm jealous. That means I got to take action on my life. I got to
get where I want to go.
Exactly. So, but
I think it's also important to, and I've had to be more mindful because I used to speak like so freely. I would just say whatever was on my mind. And I've toned that down a little bit, right? Because like, for instance, something that I really want in life is I want to be married. You know what I mean? I want to be married. I want a family. And so I definitely would have been the type of person before, like when someone says they get engaged, I'd be like, oh, me next. And you don't realize that those little comments too show that envy, that jealousy. So now when someone tells me that, I just say, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. And then maybe deeper in the conversation, I might be like, I'm so happy for you. I can't wait till I'm there one day. But like the first thought is I want that for myself. And you think you're just kind of relating, but you don't realize that is expressing that like jealousy, that envy. And even though it comes across a little bit nicer, it's still those same little jabs that, oh,
Just
but
like your friend
I'm
did.
funnier. Oh, but I do it better.
Because you could never anyway.
And you know, it's some stuff that's like a forbidden thing. Like it's some, like, you know how in society, like it's some things that it's like we harp on more than others. And I think in friendships, like we really give people a hard time when they're dealing with jealousy and envy, but it really is, it just takes me back to like the scripture that talks about like how iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
Some of that sharpening is recognizing like, I never thought of myself as a jealous person, but now I'm in a situation where I'm so close to this thing. And the thing that I don't have, my best friend is getting. The thing that I've been praying for, the thing that I cry about at night, like this is happening to someone close to me. Yeah. And I don't think it's wrong that it makes you think about, you know, like, dang, like, when is it going to be me?
Yep. That's human.
That's very human. And but I do think that it's the way that you deal with it. It's the way that you express it. I think that, and I'm thinking about a time, the more that we talk about a time that I started to feel like small around a person. And it was just it was literally just because of their character. I wouldn't say that it was like full blown jealousy, but I started to see like the beginning of what could have become jealousy. Where it was just like, I'm around this person. I'm like, man, this person is so, all of these things that I wish I was a little bit more of in their character, in their maturity. And I remember one day I had to sit and I was in my car and I was like, God, I don't want to let this go any further, because that's how it becomes a thing when you don't address it at its inception. It's like, God, I'm feeling this thing and it feels yucky and I just want to go ahead and put it out there. Because a lot of times it becomes more because we try to tuck it under the rug. We're ashamed of it. It's embarrassing. So I'm going to ignore it. And then you keep letting these thoughts play out in your head. And then after a while, you're making those snippy comments, right? But I got with God and I was like, I'm not doing this because it's ugly. Like, no, I was like, let me put this out here that God, like when I'm around this person, I just feel kind of small. Like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I don't want this to be a thing.
Yeah.
Like I had to put it out there in the light. I feel like a lot of things get big because we want to hide it. And your friend saying that to you was really her. And I don't want to be super spiritual, but oh, well, it's who I am. That's why I'm here. A lot of times, like the enemy thrives in those dark places. And what she did by revealing that to you, revelation brings light to stuff. Like she stopped the enemy in his tracks of being able to plant those thoughts that would drive her to make those comments to tear you down. When you bring things out into the light, confession, that helps to stop this thing that happens in your mind. So when I brought it out to God and I said, God, I'm feeling small around this person, I had to confess what was in my heart before it started to, you know, get bigger. Then I started to sit with him and he started to give me little nuggets and he started to show me, well, remember this, your ex was making comments about this person, kind of comparing y'all, like this is where this came from. And then it allowed me to deal with it. It allowed me to deal with it so that it didn't become something big and ugly. And then it didn't come, well, I don't know why, I just don't like this person. Or I feel, well, I just feel like, and trying to find something wrong with them to make me feel better in my head. Like it stopped all of that when you just confess it, when you start feeling it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that, like, it's good that she like removed herself too from that situation. Cause there's a person in my life that I have a lot of jealousy for, not because, anyway, I was about to be toxic. Let me. She's all that. Let me actually not go there. But there is a person that I feel a lot of these toxic emotions that we're talking about towards, and it's something that I'm actively working on. And but what I have to do sometimes is just remove myself, because I'm not at a point where I can face this person and not feel those negative things and not say those nasty comments in my head, because I'm not there yet. You know, I'm still on my healing journey. So
it's important to be honest about that.
You know, but I have to, and I've made it clear that like I just can't really be around this person, because if I am, I'm going to be a version of myself that I don't want to be. You know, and that's that for now. That's what I've done to solve it, and hopefully down the line, I'm working towards where I can be around this person and not feel the way that I feel. Of course. But right now, the ugly green monster is big and nasty. I mean,
but that's mature to take a step back and say, I'm not ready to deal with this person in such an intimate way. So I'm gonna keep them at bay.
Yeah, they can stay
I have
over
people
there.
in my life that I can't deal with you like that right now.
So do you guys want to give some final thoughts on today's conversation as we wrap up? You want to go first, Alan?
Sure. I would say this: use jealousy as a motivator. you know, to see like, hey, this is something that I want, go after it, but then reflect on your own life to see what I need to change to get there, to get these things. And, you know, don't ever tear somebody else down, you know, because of your own insecurity. So I would say just use it as a motivator to, you know, give yourself a level up, to take yourself to the next level, to get to that next chapter in life that you want, not to tear somebody else down.
And where can they find you, Alan?
You can find me on Instagram at Pruitt Prep CPA.
Pruitt Prep CPA. Y'all got that?
Right.
Website, same thing, PruittPrepCPA.com.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
What about you, Tiara?
I mean, I would say kill it at its inception. Like, we all know, and it requires self-awareness, but you know the thoughts that you think, you know those. I just had to do it the other day. I just had to say, you know what? Instead of trying to tuck these under the rug, like let me address it out loud instead of trying to act like it's not in my mind. It's there. It's there.
Yeah.
But deal with it at its inception. And I think that even if you are feeling those feelings of jealousy or inadequacy, which is what it really starts as before it becomes jealousy, then envy, then strife.
Yeah.
Go ahead and address it before it becomes that big green monster. Go ahead and address it. And there's no shame in addressing it. I mean, we all have things that we are not, where we feel like we're in lack, where we feel a little insecure. That is normal. That is human. But you don't want it to get to a point where now you're harmful and toxic to people that you really want to be connected to, because you can learn from, you can get better with them, like you can grow with them, you can encourage and support one another. You don't want to ruin those amazing connections just because you are not dealing with you in the process. So kill it at its inception and confess it, even if it's just to God at first, and deal with it before it affects other people.
And where can they find you?
You can find me at The Tiara Sade on Instagram. You can also find me at Real Refined Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, all of the places, TikTok, Tickety Talk. And you can also find me on thetiarashade.com. I'm still doing coaching sessions. I do group sessions. I do one-on-one sessions. You can find more information there about the kind of coaching I do. And I would love to work with you and walk you through your healing journey so that you don't be jealous of other people.
I might need to have some of your services. And what about you, Stephanie?
I would just say that jealousy is normal, and don't shy away from that feeling, because it's an indicator of maybe something deeper, like Tiara is saying. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on all platforms at Official Stephanie Alexis.
And what else?
And if you need therapy, you know, we see people that, hey, Therapist with a Therapist. You can find me at www.arabellacounts.com. You can give us a call during the week. We answer the phone, 832-919-8363. And we would love to also, like Tiara said, come alongside you on your healing journey so that you don't become envious.
That's right. Okay, my final thoughts are, I really like that you guys said to like stop that before it becomes that big green monster. You know, like I said earlier, I've evolved in a lot of ways, and I'm still evolving. We're still growing. And I think that's a good mindset to have. Like I'm always going to be better.
Life's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
So
and using that jealousy as fuel to be a better version of myself, to help me on that healing journey. And so we talked about a lot of things I needed to hear. I might need everyone's services.
Definitely need your services.
Yes. Let's get it.
And you can find me at LV with Val. That's all I'm putting out there right now.
She don't want y'all in her business.
I don't need y'all in my business.
We know what you do to people who
that
get
ain't
in your business. Have a great Wednesday.